Moving on now to the teams. 1974-1975 Elmvale Juvenile Championship Hockey Team in the Double D Division. The Elmvale Juvenile Hockey Team, 1974 to 1975, consisted of some of the strongest-hearted young men that have played the game. They were a team defined by their determination and ability to overcome adversity, including the sudden loss of teammate Ron Deckline during the provincial finals. They drew inspiration from the local community, which packed home games and traveled by bus in large numbers to away games. They played 4 unique and challenging series en route to becoming All-Ontario Juvenile Double D champions. These juveniles always put team first, and they would not be denied. At this time, I'd like to call on, from Currie Truck Center, Heidi McElwain and alumnus Frank Archer to come forward as presenters. And I will call out the names of the team. If we could have you folks come up, please. We have Mark Archer, Peter Beardsall, Dan Breeden, Jeff Columbus, and sorry, Jeff is being represented tonight by his children. George Kahn, Paul Craddock, Rick Durnford, Greg Giffen, Brian Handy, Steve Loftus, Joel Melnick, Danny Ritchie, John Trace, who will be receiving, as well as his dad, Bill Trace, and his wife, Bunny, is here as well. Could I have the team members come forward, please? I'd like to welcome Bunny Trace to say a few words.
A very fast thank you to all members of the Springwater Sports Heritage Committee for about 10 years of amazing work. I had the idea to nominate these juveniles about 5 years ago at least, and finally got around to it this year. With the help of son John and of Mark Archer and son Doug. It has been well worth it to see the joy on the faces of these young men grown up. And I'm so happy to see it finally presented to the 74-75 Juvenile All-Ontario champions.
Hi, everybody. My name's Joe Melnick. I'm proud to be a member of this great team, juvenile team, and All-Ontario champions. I think this jacket shrunk. Anyways, first of all, I want to thank Bunny Trace for nominating the team. That was really unexpected and very appreciated. Also, I'd like to thank Larry Simpson and his team for putting this night on. It's a lot of hours, a lot of work, and it's something that takes a lot of time to do. So, and they do a very good job at it. I was lucky to be on the team and surrounded by really good hockey players. And when I was told of the induction, I was thinking, like, man, I was so lucky to be a part of this team. You know, I remember the games we played and the tournaments we attended. Some we won, some we lost. And I'm thinking, like, you know, just how did we accomplish to be juvenile champions? It didn't take me long. You know what? It's one of these things that when you're surrounded by good people, good hockey players, good things happen. And because of that, we end up winning the All-Ontario. And also, when you're, again, surrounded by good hockey players, you've got good coaches, trainers, managers. Bill Trace. You know, just a little side thing on Bill Trace. I remember I started playing hockey in Elmvale when we moved here from Saskatchewan when we were playing Pee-wees, and we played out west in Saskatchewan. We played outdoors. Came into Ontario at Elmvale, and we signed up and got the date for the first practice, and we're indoors, and I'm thinking, we died and went to heaven. Like, this is the real McCoy. So, you know, playing juvenile and Bill Trace, I don't even think he was associated to our team. But anyways, I just remember back then, if you were a goaltender, and I wasn't one, they would have lockers there, and Bill would go in there and grab the goalie equipment for the goaltender. And you know what? He was really instrumental. I mean, he left a mark on a lot of young hockey players, you know, and I remember him from Pee-wee, and even if he wasn't associated team that I was on, he still left a mark. And you know what? He meant a lot to any of the hockey players that he was associated to. Going back again, George Kahn, I mean, he was one of the best out there. And along with good coaching, you've got trainers like Brian Handy. You know what? We were just surrounded with some really good people, knowledgeable, but the main thing is we always had fun. You know what? The road trips, the tournaments, it was just something that it left a mark, I think, on everybody. And it was... you know, it was a very special year. So I won't take any more of your time tonight, but I also want to say we're thinking of the players that are not here tonight. So thank you for your time.
I think I don't know if Julie or Joel introduced himself as Joe or Julie, but we're the only guys who knew him as Julian. And his brother John, his twin brother John, were our one set of defense, a rugged pair of boys from Saskatchewan, and our other solid defense guys from Menacing. Danny and Greg. Anyway, I just had a few things that I'd like to touch on. Joe touched on a lot of them. And now I'm going to find my notes. And I got about 20 thoughts. And Mrs. Trace, Bunny, we thank you for nominating. We thank the committee and Elmvale Minor Hockey. Because if it wasn't for that, of course, we wouldn't be here. And if you think of Elmvale Minor Hockey, it wasn't organized until 1963 when we had artificial ice. And the reason we weren't organized is because you can never count on the arena having ice all through the season. The barn doors would be open to let the cold in to freeze the ice. The sun would come around and the ice would melt away from the boards wherever it hit. So we were happy when we got the artificial ice. We have Pete Beardsall flying in from Halifax this afternoon. Julie's brother John, who passed away, is no longer with us, of course, and we miss him. Jeff Columbus's son and daughter, Josh Columbus and Cassie Columbus, are here to represent him. And of course, we remember Guy Reevy and Jimmy Grigg, our goalies, that would carry the load when Paul wasn't taking the shots. And then I'm missing somebody. Oh, Dave hasn't passed away. He's just not with us. He's playing in, Dave Morrow's name was Punk, and he's playing in a rock band down in London right now. But Joe touched on Bill Trace as well. Bill loved the game. Bill came from an era when there was no organized hockey for kids anywhere. So much like my father, who I'm very proud is here to present us with the pin, Dad was the president that year, Bill was the manager, and what a great team. Let's talk about George and Brian for a bit, because here's a bunch of guys. We didn't even know if we're going to have a midget team because we couldn't find a coach. A lot of us played a lot of hockey together, but midget things started to fall apart a bit. So we rounded up a guy named Ted Downer who was able to take us through the midgets, and then a lot of us made up the juvenile team the next year, but a lot got taken away by the Barrie Colts, Midland Flyers, and the cream of the crop left, and we were the guys who became the cream of the crop. So 5 Hamlets come together. We had the Menacing Boys, we had Anton Mills, we had Phelpston, Waverly, Wyville, of course Elmvale. That's 6, I think, isn't it? And one of the biggest challenges for George and Brian and Bill at the time is that the drinking age just went down to 18 that year. But lucky for them, many of us were only 17. As if that mattered, right? But we always, business was first and the fun was later. And we just filled the rinks like Powassan and Nobleton and Dorchester and Sterling. That's a rough town, holy crap. But the clapboards were on the main street, advertising, and we really were living the life. That was the NHL to us then. But we had tragedies, we had losses, we had friendships, we have friendships forever. And I guess, if I remember correctly, Danny Breeden's father and mother had the Rainbow Valley campground. So after a big dance, and I remember the dance was May 16th, 75, because it was my birthday, we raised enough money to buy these things. Now you thought us old guys smelt musty, and we do, but the jackets don't help. But that was one of the most memorable nights, I think, with a bunch of guys like this. So thank you, and maybe just take a couple of seconds to reflect upon and remember those guys that aren't here tonight. So, thank you.